Welcome. Really great to have you here and be here all together as a group. Just talk. So many amazing speakers and so much inspiration. That was a very passionate speech by a very passionate man. Right there, that was incredible, and everyone has been very, very incredible and incredibly inspiring today. My name is Kyle Connaughton. This is my wife, Katina. We own and run SingleThread Farm, Restaurant, and Inn, which is up in Healdsburg, Sonoma County, California, so about an hour and a half north of us here. And we're going to talk a little bit today about creating a sustainable ecosystem through hospitality. So we're going to talk about our farming. Katina's going to talk a bit about our farming practices, what that means to our restaurant, but a little bit more how we engage our guests through hospitality to draw them in to deeper into the world of food and deeper into the style of agriculture that we're doing and that we want to promote on a little bit larger scale. Yesterday we had the pleasure of hosting the whole Basque Culinary jury and to participate in that as well, and to bring them up to go through all of the nominees and to deliberate on that, and also share our farm with all the amazing chefs and everyone involved from BCC. And ultimately select Anthony. Was such a privilege and honor for us to bring them up, to show them what we do up in Sonoma County. And if there's anything for everyone in this room that you take away from today, I hope that you will take away the selection of Anthony and Zero Foodprint and what that means and what the impact of that has had and will continue to have in this new platform that they have to stand on is really incredible. And if you're a chef in this room or you own a food business, to do the research and look into it and engage with them. Everyone who was on the jury panel, as you know, has made a commitment to do that, and I encourage everyone in this room to do the same. And if you're a journalist here today, to help spread the word about why such a deserving recipient was selected and the impact that can have on us in the future. So sorry, I just wanted to say that very quickly before we started on what it is that we do. And today we've heard from a lot of speakers, including Anthony, and everyone who's thinking about things on a very large scale, and it's incredibly inspiring for us and slightly intimidating because we work on a very small scale. I mean, we are just a small restaurant here in Healdsburg, and a farm and a very small inn with just 5 rooms. So what we do is a very, very small and has a very small impact, but we hope to use that to continue to drive bigger ideas. I've been coming to these kind of culinary chef conferences for many years, by going back to 2005, 2006, with many of the same speakers and chefs, Ron Roca, Andoni, all these people. We've been speaking and collaborating together for a very long time now. And I could say at the beginning, of that time when I started participating in these things all over the world, the subjects were very much around, look what I'm doing, look what I'm creating in my kitchen. This is my new innovation. This is my new invention. This is my new dish. And I think it was very much with a collaborative look, but a little bit of like, look what I've done. And to see the evolution of this conversation as a group, go to one about what can we do. Let's think forward. Yeah. We're doing this in our restaurant, but we're moving forward, and we want to support these better efforts, and to give more time to looking at the future and driving towards a better future together. It gives me a lot of hope, and gives us a lot of hope to the future and where we're heading as industry, and those of us, all of us in this room who are leaders in this industry, where we're helping to move things forward. So we say SingleThread Farm, Restaurant, and Inn. Of course, most of the guests are experiencing the the restaurant side, and to a smaller extent the inn. But in our name, we put farm first, because the farm for us, Katina's farm, it comes first. It comes first for us. It comes first for me as a young chef, and even as a not so young chef. When we opened SingleThread when we were 40. I had this idea in my mind that my purpose in this industry and my purpose in life was to create beautiful food and innovative dishes to serve to guests, and then that began to evolve more in our thinking about hospitality and what it meant to us, and taking care of people, nourishing people, bringing people into not this stuffy environment of a a fine dining restaurant, but rather in our home and taking care of these guests like guests in our home. And as Katina's agricultural career evolved from Japan to the UK and then back to wine country, I really realized that my mission as a chef was really to support my agricultural partner, who also happens to be my wife, and her agricultural mission and her as an agronomist and what she was doing. And I really realized that it was really not about me as a chef and cooking. It was really that the restaurant and what I was going to do was just going to translate the work that she was doing into something that we could serve to the guests. So for us, the farm comes first, and I'm really here as a chef to give the platform to move, to transfer the energy from one living thing to another, from what she's doing with the soil and on the farm, ultimately to our guests. So I feel very privileged to kind of come full circle in my career to serve a farmer, really. So this is just a few images of our space. 5 acres. We're on 180 acres of vineyard land in North Sonoma County in the Alexander Valley AVA. We farm those 5. We're planted in 2.5 acres, and we have another 2.5 acres around that where we have some cattle there as well. We have about 100 olive trees, fruit orchard, about 90 heritage breed chickens there as well for all of our eggs. And we're right along the Russian River. And essentially, Katina developed a piece of land that was a fallow piece of land that was not ideal for growing wine grapes because of where it was situated on the river, but was perfect for the type of growing that we wanted to do for our restaurant. So we grow only for a restaurant. We don't sell to the outside. We do prepare meals and various things, which I won't get into today, but it's to come back to the restaurant full circle. And so not only is that important for us in terms of the farming that we need to do that drives the menu and the experience of SingleThread, but also we bring biodiversity to a land that is otherwise monocropped with grapes. And monocropping is something we normally think about in terms of wheat and soybean and corn, all these things, but it can happen in wine country as well, where we have all vines. So it's very important. You've heard Sonoma brought up quite a bit, various farms in Sonoma. It's very important to the sort of health and vitality of wine country that in amongst all of the vineyards, we also have farms to work in there as well. And then our dining room here, about 50 guests in evening, and then the five rooms there. And from a hospitality perspective, we really believe in these immersive experiences, and that the modern diner and traveler is seeking experiences over traditional luxury. That's been a big shift in the dining. It's not about luxury ingredients that are flown in from all over the world, that it's about an immersive experience. That the journey is as important as the destination when you arrive, and hopefully when you arrive at our restaurant, that it's as much of its place as it is in the time in that place. So for us, we want to showcase Sonoma and our farm, but not just the idea of Sonoma or the place Sonoma, but in that particular moment, what we're harvesting at that moment. And then for our guests, creating memories and sharing stories, which is incredibly important to people today in our sharing culture, and to do that with authenticity and transparency. And I show this image here of our kitchen because on authenticity and transparency, that's completely open to the dining room, which is not a completely new or revolutionary concept, but for us is very important in terms of that hospitality, to be there directly engaging with our guests, both from their perspective looking in and ours looking out to see that those are human beings that we're serving, but also to give that transparency of what we're doing. We're not hiding behind a wall somewhere manipulating something. We're cooking in a very genuine and honest way. We kind of had a simple mission, which was to place hospitality above all else, make everything a genuine and authentic experience, and welcome guests to our home, to remove the intimidation factor that kind of associated with fine dining and make it something that was more accessible, and in that way that we could break down those walls for the guests and engage them more deeply into the agricultural portion of what we want to share with them. So Katina on our farm, Our menu is completely driven by what comes to the farm, not the other way around. We serve what the farm grows, and we are driven by that, and by that alone. And so, as a chef, it shifts the approach to creativity. And for the chefs that we're training, it is to shift their mentality and thinking to that as well. So Katina is going to kind of take over for a few minutes here. But yesterday we had the pleasure of serving all the chefs a dish made with all the different tomatoes we're beginning to harvest now, and kampachi. So it's a sashimi dish that's centered around tomatoes, but for us it has a little bit of a deeper story.
Yes, absolutely. The components of that dish, they have a meaningful relationship that are layers deep. And please bear with me, I spend my life communicating with plants, so this is a little foreign, but I'll tell you a little tale about fish heads and tomatoes. In the early winter, when we are butchering the fish, we focus our attention on saving and freezing those fish heads. Also, during that time, we start seeding all of our tomatoes for the summer season ahead. So months later, when the ground has warmed and our starts have matured, we collect the fish heads and we bring them out to the farm on transplanting day. This is just where our beautiful relationship begins. I don't know that the farm team appreciates having to deal with all these thawing fish heads, but it all works out in the end. So what happens is the fish heads slowly decompose. They continue to gently feed the soil. And the soil is then also fueled by the sun. It continues to feed the vine. The vine, fueled by the soil, produces the fruits that feed our guests and our families. And in this way, all of those ingredients, they come full circle. So our focus is always on growing healthy soil to grow healthy crops. And in this respect, our dishes, not only do they have to be delicious and beautiful, but they have to be meaningful to us. They not only have to have a positive impact on our guests, but also on the environment. I think that means so much to us.
So when guests come to the restaurant, we're really looking obviously to show them a great time. But we too, like many speakers that have touched on today, have realized how disconnected sometimes people are for the food systems. And so what is the role of a restaurant like this today? What is the role of fine dining today? In the fast-paced life that everyone has, people are not spending the time together or cooking together or sitting down and dining together. We've heard a lot about that today in different ways. And what we really endeavor to do is to share a moment in time where you are experiencing today, that fleeting moment for us from an agricultural perspective, and learning about that and the importance of that. But you're doing so over a table with your friends and your family to sort of switch off. And it's not like we ban cell phones or anything like that, but you're more encouraged and allowed to take a couple hours to sort of reconnect with the people that you choose to spend time with, rather than hurriedly passing them by. And we try to take that that mission to heart. And in the kitchen, we're working within the confines of nature, and nature doles out a lot of different things to us. Fires up in wine country, floods that we had this year. We're constantly having to realize that we're working within nature and never against it, and it's not there to serve our needs. So we have to, in that way, innovate and be fluid in our menus and fluid in the way that we're cooking and the way that we're serving our guests, and have that honesty around what it is. And so, and training the young chefs, anyone who comes and starts and works at SingleThread, they spend their first week working on the farm. Doesn't matter what job you're doing, to learn about the farm and to learn about the hard work of Katina and the farm team, and to really understand that things cannot be at our beck and call anymore. We need to really understand the confines of nature and the confines that we're working on, and be more flexible and fluid as cooks, as chefs, as restaurateurs, to begin to help shape a view for our guests and the consumers going forward, that things need to change. We cannot have anything anytime that we want it. These are the confines of nature that we work with on a small scale, and the confines of nature that we are beginning to understand on a larger scale. Just very quickly in kind of closing, 15 minutes sure does go fast. We really work with our guests to sort of engage, to do that, to engage all their senses, to combine the landscape and the ingredients, to share a moment in time from them between the floral that we grow all of our own floral, what's foraged, what's gathered, what's harvested, to really give that guest a sense of moment of time, which is about creating appreciation, for the importance of these things in life. And this is the way that we start our meal that you sit down to at the restaurant to give you that in what we hope is a very impactful way. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.